Hello, testing.
Hopefully that works. You ready?
But you sounded fine in the last recording with you sitting up,
So I need to be back and you need to be forward?
and I need to be over here with you. Okay.
All right. Boo bitches! Welcome to episode 69. Are you laughing at me?
I'm laughing at you, and I'm laughing at me, and everything.
Okay. We've been drinking.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 69 of C3 Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails.
Wow.
This week, we're going to be talking about Ouija boards. I kind of think like we've talked a little bit about them, but I couldn't find the episode.
I think it's just been sprinkled in throughout our episodes.
I don't know, but we're going to talk about them. We're going to do a deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we drinking first?
We are drinking what I like to call the Swamp Witch.
Woo!
And I am drinking lime. It's like basically lime sherbet with Sprite. And it's like, you can make it for your kids because this is amazing.
Yeah, it looks very swampy.
Yeah.
Witchy. It's green.
It's so cool.
But I put vodka in mine.
Yeah.
Because of course I did.
Mine's like a mocktail sort of thing. And then River has the actual cocktail. So
it's yummy.
Oh yeah, it's delicious. I would be having some vodka, but I have a resolution to uphold.
Oh, well, that's no fun.
Well, it's more fun for
My
me.
resolution is to be fun.
It's more fun for me. I don't have to dread going,
You just can't manifest with you.
Oh. Okay, let's go back 2 weeks, man.
Whatever.
Okay.
Ouija boards. What are Ouija boards? So a Ouija board is also called a talking board or a spirit board.
Okay.
It's a flat board that's marked with letters of the alphabet, the numbers 0 through 9, and the words yes, no. Usually it has hello and goodbye. It needs to have goodbye, along with various symbols and graphics. It uses a planchette, which is like a small heart-shaped piece of wood or plastic that moves around to help spell out messages. And this definition says during a seance, which I guess anytime you're trying to talk to the dead is kind of a seance. Yeah. Participants place their fingers on the planchette and it's moved about the board to spell out words. Now, Ouija is actually a trademark of Hasbro, but it's often used generically to refer to any talking board.
I knew that.
Yeah, it's kind of like Kleenex is used as a generic term for tissues.
But it's a brand.
Okay,
wait. We've talked about this, not on the podcast, I think.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of, is that we just had lots of discussions about Ouija boards.
See, we needed to have had a podcast a long time ago. Duh.
Another definition is it's a wooden or sturdy cardboard board on which the alphabet is laid out in 2 semicircular arcs.
It's kind of like
she's so cold sober, y'all.
It's kind of like an herb is an herb. Cardboard board.
That's a board is a board.
A board is a board. Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry.
With a row of numbers 1 through 0 below, there are often also the words yes and no and goodbye. The board comes with a planchette or pointer. Each participant rests a finger lightly on the planchette, which spells out words when it is moved by an, quote, unknown force.
Oh.
It is possible to fashion a temporary Ouija board from a circle of letters and numbers using an upturned glass as the planchette.
Oh, I see that.
Oops,
sorry.
Didn't we talk about this before where we said you could make a Ouija board on the ground? Like you can just scratch the numbers and all of that onto the ground?
Yeah. Like in chalk. Like if you
on
a playground.
Or on a driveway.
But when the chalk... Okay, wait. Talking about chalk. We've been using chalk as children and growing up wrong.
What do you mean?
You're supposed to dip the chalk in water. And then, like the chalk stick.
Yeah.
And dip it in water. And then you're supposed to draw because it makes the color, like, vibrant.
Really?
Yeah. We've been doing it wrong.
I didn't know.
But wouldn't it necessarily, like, if you're doing the Ouija...
She's sober. She's having more fun than I am, and she's sober.
Period. If I'm doing the Ouija.
Yes.
On a pavement with chalk, something that's erasable, and let's say you're in the middle of the session and your goodbye gets erased, what happens?
I think you're doomed.
Oh no. And then would that mean that surface that you use, like let's say a driveway, is then therefore that portal?
Maybe. That reminds me of the meme. I've seen it. You've probably seen it too, with the rug that's got the Ouija board, Ouija board rug. And it's like, everything's all well and good until the Roomba summons a demon.
I like that. I didn't see that. I like that.
It's funny. I'll see if I can find it. It's pretty funny.
I like that.
Okay, so the history of the Ouija board. In February 1891, the first few advertisements started appearing in papers. Quote, Ouija, the wonderful talking board, boomed a Pittsburgh toy and novelty shop describing a magical device that answered questions about the past, present, and future with marvelous accuracy, and promised never-failing amusement and recreation for all the classes. The classes, so this was, I guess, back in a time when there was still, I guess there still is now. Yeah. But what an odd way to...
It's, I guess, like society's not looked at that that right now.
Right.
Okay, it is, but indirectly. I feel like they looked at it more directly as, oh, I'm a upper class. Like, I feel like that's like you go to shake somebody's hand, you're like, hey, I'm upper class. How about you?
Maybe that's because we're privileged that we don't think of it that way. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
Anyway.
Okay, but that's the thing. You never hear a news anchor go, oh, and on today's news of the upper class. Like,
that's true. That's true. The advertisement claimed that it created a link between the known and the unknown, the material and the immaterial. And then a New York newspaper declared it interesting and mysterious and testified as proven at the patent office before it was allowed. It was a whole $1.50 back then, which was actually probably a lot. $1.50.
Let me think. I'm trying to think. I haven't bought a Ouija board in over 7 years.
I make them.
Okay. Valid. Mm-hmm. You're right.
I've never bought one, actually.
But a Ouija board, okay, we bought it at Barnes & Noble. Mm-hmm. Of all places, Barnes & Noble. And I think it was probably about $30.
30. Okay. That probably is about the same. Ago. Yeah. So the idea was that 2 or more people would sit around the board and place their little fingers on the planchette, pose a question, and then watch as the planchette seemingly moved by itself to spell out answers.
Yes. But, okay, that's my question. So if you're, Ouija boards.
Mm-hmm.
They apparently give you the past, present, and future knowledge. Mm-hmm. But if you're talking to, let's say, a dead person, they don't know the past, present, and future unless if they're enlightened at death, type of thing.
I don't know. But the Ouija board is actually, did you know?
Okay.
The Ouija board has been used by writers.
Oh.
So Sylvia Plath was reported to have used a Ouija board for writing dialogue at some point in her career. And the poet James Merrill also claimed that he wrote the Changing Light at Sandover by using a Ouija board to communicate with his dead friend, W.B. Yeats, and even the Archangel Michael through the Ouija board. Oh. Wherever he received his inspiration, his poem came out to be 560 pages.
That's not a poem.
That's a
book.
And then supposedly the most stunning use of the Ouija board for writing occurred in 1919 when a housewife in St. Louis named Pearl Lenore Curran claimed that she had books dictated to her by a 17th century writer, Patience Worth, via the Ouija board. And these were all published and met with renowned praise. They were supposedly amazing. And she claimed the Ouija board. So can you imagine spelling out an entire book one letter at a time?
Oh, that would take so long.
Can you imagine?
But could you imagine if you are a writer from before 1919 mm-hmm. and you died and mm-hmm. you didn't get to write everything that you wanted, and then some person's trying to get inspiration
yeah.
and write a book. And what would you do? Would you write it letter by letter to get your information out there, what you want to, and then maybe that was their reason to be
maybe, but
in the afterlife?
Do you get to then publish it in your name, or do you give credit to apparently he told them that it was Patience Worth who
but then it. as a entity, whether ghost, demon, whatever, evilness, whatever it is, they can always come back and get you if you don't give them credit. So
that's true. That's true.
So I wouldn't mess with whatever is on the other side.
So Ouija historian Robert Murch has been researching the story of the Ouija board since 1992. When he started his research, he said no one really knew anything about its origins, which struck him as odd for such an iconic thing that strikes both fear and wonder into American culture. How could no one know where it came from? So he started researching it. The Ouija board, in fact, came straight out of the American 19th century obsession with spiritualism.
I believe that.
Yeah, the belief that the dead are able to communicate with the living. Spiritualism, which has been around for forever, hit America in about 1848 with the prominence of the Fox sisters of upstate New York.
I know this.
The Foxes claimed to receive messages from spirits who rapped on the walls and answered to questions, repeating this feat of channeling in parlors all across the state.
Rapped on the walls like a rapper. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aided by the stories of the celebrity sisters and other spiritualists in the New York National Press, spiritualism reached millions of adherents at its peak in the second half of the 19th century. Spiritualism worked for Americans. It was compatible with Christian dogma, meaning that one could hold a seance on Saturday night and have no qualms about going to church the next day.
Wow.
It was acceptable. It was considered wholesome to do Ouija boards and seances.
That's not at all how it is today.
No. Sometimes they did seances through automatic writing or table turning parties, which I'm not quite sure. Oh, it says that's when the participants would place their hand on a small table and watch it begin to shake and rattle while they all declared, "Oh, it's not me. I'm not doing it."
Table turning is different nowadays. Table turning is when you get hyped at parties.
Really?
Yeah, like you turn tables. Wow. Or it could be like, wow, the tables have turned.
Oh, yeah, the tables have turned.
Like you have another,
interesting.
One on, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even think of that. The movement also offered solace in an era when the average lifespan of people was less than 50. Women died in childbirth, children died of disease, men died in war. Even Mary Todd Lincoln, the wife of the president, conducted seances while in the White House after their 11-year-old son died of the fever in 1862. During the Civil War, spiritualism gained proponents in droves, people becoming desperate to contact loved ones who had gone off to war and never come home.
I guess that makes sense.
I can see that too.
Yeah.
So in 1886, this fledgling Associated Press reported this new phenomenon taking over spiritualist camps in Ohio. I swear we've talked about this on an episode before, or maybe just together. I don't know. And it was basically a Ouija board. And so this guy, Charles Kennard of Baltimore, Maryland, acted on this new hype that was out there. In 1890, he pulled together a group of 4 other inventors, Elijah Bond, Colonel Washington Bowie, and he started the Kennard Novelty Company to exclusively make and market these new talking boards. None of these men were spiritualists themselves, but they were all of them very good businessmen who saw an opportunity.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the Ouija board yet. They didn't know what to do with it. So this is about how the name Ouija came to be.
Oh, okay.
The way that they came up with that name was his sister-in-law, Helen Peters, who was a medium. She said they sat around the table and they asked the board what they should call it.
Huh.
And it told them, Ouija.
What is Ouija?
It's just what the board spelled out when they asked it, what should we call you?
Yeah, but If
it's not
looked into in any language, like it could be any language.
Some people, we and French is yes, and the JA and German, but that is not what it was. It was the board named itself.
Oh, okay.
And then when they asked it what it meant, the board replied, "Good luck."
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
Eerie and cryptic, but for the fact that she acknowledged that she was wearing a locket with the picture of a woman with the name Ouija above her head. So I don't know. But maybe it was the name of the ghost they were talking. And so now we have boards that are the name of this person that
Ouija.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the story.
It's kind of like Luigi, like Luigi.
They think that this person in the picture might have been women's rights activist Ouija.
Oh.
Yeah, who Peters admired, but Ouija was just a misreading of that. I don't know. But yeah, they asked the board,
okay,
what should we call you? And it spelled out Ouija.
Okay.
So nowadays, any believer in ghosts of the supernatural will tell you their golden rule is to do not touch Ouija boards. Do not play with them. Mm-hmm. Opening up a Ouija board, they say, is like opening up a portal to the other side. Sure, it could connect you with a deceased grandparent, but more likely than not, it's bound to invite an unwanted spirit into your midst. Mm-hmm. And once that connection is open, it would be very difficult to close again, even if you point the pointer to goodbye.
Ooh, see, okay. I know we've talked about this, like, my husband and I doing the Ouija board as part of our first date.
Yeah.
And the planchette, it kept trying to go to the corner of the board.
Yeah.
And that's like, we looked it up and it was like the entity
was trying to escape.
Yeah. That's scary.
That is scary. Oof. So, but did you know it was the 1973 film adaptation of The Exorcist that first linked Ouija boards to horror and the occult?
I could see that.
It was before then. It was just a fun family game.
Okay. And I think that this is a very good tell on, I don't know what the word is, but like mass intent type of thing.
Yeah,
what's
there's that word? Culpa.
That's what it's called?
When mass intent brings something to be?
To actually be?
Yeah, it's a tulpa.
Okay, that's what I think the Ouija is.
Could be.
I think so. And then so as it being a tulpa, it then acts as gateways for whatever else on the other side.
I think that's...
Or if you want to get into alternate dimensions and blah, 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 then it's like a portal to that beings that we can't see. And again, I think we mentioned this last week. We, as people, our eyes can't see.
If you all could see us, she's sitting here like, pointing at both of our eyes.
I see you, you see me. No, but like our eyes, we can only see certain wavelengths,
Right.
Like, there's only so much that's visible to us. And so, I mean, who's to say we can't actually, like, they're not sitting right next to us, but we physically can't see them with our wavelengths.
Yeah. In that movie, the 1973 Exorcist movie, the character of Regan, who was played by Linda Blair, as everybody knows this movie, I think, finds an old Ouija board in the basement of her home and begins using it to communicate with someone named Captain Howdy. Mm-hmm. And in one scene where Regan and her mother are playing with the Ouija board, the planchette flies across the board on its own.
Yeah.
And the mother's character just kind of shrugs it off, but it soon becomes clear that Regan's imaginary friend, which we talked about last week, is really a demon that has possessed her.
Yeah, an imaginary friend with a flesh pocket. Like, get out of
here. For the key to the house.
Yeah, for the key for the house. Could you imagine how?
No.
Okay, absolutely not. Let's change.
Okay. I do have, we're going to change to creepy stories. I have creepy stories about people who have used the Ouija board.
I said that too late, and then I looked at the notes and I went, yeah.
So this first one says, Justin played with the Ouija board one day with several of his friends. They asked questions, but instead of the planchette moving to certain letters, they began to move in a strange pattern. It went to all four corners of the board and made an X, which I bet they were trying to escape.
Yeah.
He says, then it just went in circles. And then the next time he used the board, it was with a different friend at his house. And again, the planchette moved in that same pattern. And he said, I felt like it was some sort of hex. And then later on that night when he was sleeping, he felt a forceful hand grab his arm and wake him up. Everyone else in the house was asleep.
Oh, I mean, okay. I was going to be like, is the ghost trying to communicate via Morse code?
That's like, a good question. Not a lot of people know Morse code.
Yeah. And then like, when you think about a generic Ouija board, it's in American letters, like American alphabet. My bad. American alphabet. I know that.
I knew what you meant.
Sorry. American alphabet. And let's say the entity is Russian, like.
Yeah. How would it be able to
talk? Like, they speak Farsi,
Although
like,
maybe once you die, you become universal.
That's what it's like. You're enlightened on everything.
Yeah.
But then, like, if you're enlightened on everything, why would you be
trying to come back and be evil? And
that makes no sense to me.
All right, here's another one. Abby was in her room one night after playing with the Ouija board earlier that day. As she was getting ready for bed, her computer screen changed from black to blue. It had turned itself on. She turned the computer off, and again, the computer clicked itself back on. Anxious, she unplugged the computer completely, and then the unpowered computer started back up again.
Nope.
She buried the Ouija board in her backyard that same night.
Better than burning it.
Yeah, one of these stories, they burned it.
Nope, you're not supposed to burn it.
I didn't know that.
You're not supposed to burn it.
No, the next one. Most people who play with a Ouija board in groups, or at least with one other person. But this one girl, Asiana, wanted to try to use it on her own. She put her hands on the pointer and asked questions, but nothing happened. She took her hands off the pointer and was about to put the game away when the planchette began to move around on its own. She says, I'll never try that again.
You can say that again.
The next story. My first mistake was insulting it.
Oh.
My friend had mentioned that she had one, so I asked her to pull the board out so I could check it out. At first, she said no, but then she agreed to do it as long as she didn't have to participate. After she had the board set up, I asked, is there anyone in here? Nothing. So being a dumb teenager, I said, if there's anything in here and you're not talking, you're a coward. The board was then put away after that. Fast forward about a week, and I'm sleeping upstairs on my couch. I wake up to the stereotypical stormy night. Thunder, lightning, wind, rain, the works. I look around to see why I woke up and couldn't see anything. I decided to try to fall back asleep. After laying there about 30 seconds, I hear from downstairs, get the boy, in a very raspy, wispy voice. I open my eyes and listen. Nothing. I start to go back to sleep. Get the boy. And it was much louder this time. Then my downstairs door slams shut. I freak out because nobody slept down there and we had no drafts.
Oh, goodness.
The next one is doing the board with 6 or 7 people. Only one of my friends knows Latin, and he is not touching the planchette. Later, he joins in, but then suddenly pulls back. His hand has a small scratch on his wrist, not a cut, but a red mark. His girlfriend at the time was waking at night with strange bruises on her legs. Might have been the same spirit.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. You're going to love this one. It's about a doll.
I hate dolls.
So this story, it says, I have a terrifying story about a Ouija board. I got a call from my cousin who said that he, his brother, and his dad and his best friend were all using a Ouija board in their basement. Prior to starting, they had taken a large porcelain doll out of the room because it was creepy, and they had placed it in the adjacent room face down on a pile of towels.
Okay.
My cousin took a short break because the board was just spouting nonsense, and he went to use the bathroom. His dad and brother and friends started asking the board questions without him. One of the questions was, who was in the other room? It just started spouting random numbers. And when my cousin came back into the room, his brother said it wasn't working and that they were going to put away. And he showed them the answer to the last question. And he said, dude, that's my social security number.
Oh, no.
Then they started to talk to whatever it was, and it just started spewing answers out. It told my cousin that he would die in the Air Force. At this point, they tell the entity they are communicating with to prove itself, and it spelled out the word doll. the porcelain doll.
Absolutely.
So they opened the door to go check on the porcelain doll that they had laid in the other room. And when they opened the door, the doll was standing upright in front of the door, staring right at them.
No.
Everyone freaked out and ran out of the house. His best friend burned the Ouija board.
Nope.
And I think he went temporarily nuts for a few months. My cousin, for some reason, then joined the Air Force and is on a base in Europe right now.
Why would you do that if it told you? Why? I mean, no. Crazy. If it told me you're going to die in the Air Force, what am I going to do?
Let's go join the Air Force. Yeah. So here's another one. I asked the Ouija board how long I had to live, which you're not supposed to ever do that.
You're not supposed to do that. And you're not supposed to talk about the afterlife either.
We all asked it a question the only person asking would know the answer to. It would answer the questions. One question that somebody asked was, what is the name of the boat I went on a cruise when I was 6? And it answered correctly.
Okay.
We played with this thing forever. We had cold spot experiences and would place a candle where the cold spot was, and the candle would burn sideways, not straight up and down.
Yeah.
One night we all asked it how long we had left to live, and this is where it gets scary. Everybody that asked said that they had about 50 to 60 plus years left. I go to ask it and it says 10. And I say 10 years and it says days. I pretty much crap myself at that point. It said I was going to be killed in a car accident by a girl named Emma. And we would ask it 3 days later and it would say I had 7 days left. Ask it 2 days later and it would say I had 5 days left, and so on. So I'm freaking out at this point, carrying a Bible in my pocket and wearing a big cross. I finally tell my dad and he doesn't believe me. So I made one on a piece of paper and used a CD to show him, and it worked, and he flipped out and told me I didn't have to go to school that day, on the day I was supposed to die.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to school and nothing happened. So I wonder if he had gone, if some chick named Emma would have hit him.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad the dad was like, okay, I believe you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If it was like that, and then the dad had sent their child out, and then the child
had died. Can you imagine?
That would be absolutely
That would be awful. Yeah. And then there's this one. It says, I have no evidence and I don't care if you believe me. I've used a board with results and let something into my home and have been physically assaulted by this entity. It started out with that feeling like you're being watched and doors closing and footsteps on the hardwood when you're home alone. And it progressed slowly into being kept awake by something shaking the bed or pulling off my covers.
Oh.
Sometimes even whispering my name. The board would disappear for days on end and then show up in places where I never would have put it.
No.
I became obsessed with it. Then it was a black mass in the corner of the room, or a silhouette of a man watching me from the doorway.
Absolutely not.
After that, it escalated pretty quickly. I had my hair pulled, my fingers pricked, scratched, choked. I was held down on the bed with this thing whispering in my ear what could only have been Latin. We had our house blessed and the bad thing hasn't shown back up. Just the normal occurrences now, but I will never play with one of those boards again.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the origin of Ouija, I think it was like what is it called? Tulpa. That made this thing what it is.
That's a very good possibility. I hadn't really thought about that. Here's another one. I was about 12 or 13, spending the night at my friend's house, goofing around with the Ouija board with him and his sister, and we were all getting all sorts of gibberish plus words spelled out, just kind of scaring ourselves for fun and not really taking it very seriously until we got the message, I can see you through the window.
Oh.
And then I can see you through his eyes or something like that. There was just a small window in the basement room where we were, and just the backyard and woods past the driveway visible through that window. We asked it more questions and it said, I'm under the car. So we somehow got up the nerve to go out with a flashlight and peer under the car, and we saw a huge black stray cat which was hissing. We ran inside freaking out at the exact moment that the power failed and all the lights in the house went out. We just kind of crapped ourselves. A few minutes later, the power came back on and we sat up till dawn that night, scared, and never played with the board again.
Nope. That's so creepy. I can see through its eyes. No.
I know. No. That is creepy. And then this one, my grand aunt has never married. And when I asked why, my dad told me the story. Apparently, when she was 16, she had a pretty serious boyfriend. When she used the board, she asked if they would get married, and it said no. And she asked if they would break up, and it said no. She asked if one of them would die, and it said yes. And when she asked which of them it would be, it said goodbye. A week later, her boyfriend was killed in a wood chipper accident at the mill where he worked.
Oh, no. Oh, I hate that.
That is terrible.
And why wouldn't it tell her?
I don't know.
It just said goodbye. It was like, I don't want this conversation.
See ya. Yeah, good luck with that.
Like, I gave you enough. I'm going to leave. No. Like,
I know. It could have warned her, so she could have saved him.
Like, don't go to work.
Yeah.
Or quit your job.
Yeah.
At the wood chipper place to save your life.
And then here's one. I was staying at a hotel with friends in Northern Ontario for a chess tournament. Can't exactly remember the town. Anyway, we were looking for some thrills that night and someone busted out a Ouija board. One of the official ones where you can get from Toys R Us. We asked a few questions. I can't remember, but I will never forget when we asked it if any of us was going to die. Yeah, I know. Strange question to ask. It spelled out a person's name that was with us in the room at that time, and then a date, which was approximately a year later. That friend died a year later from cancer in his knee. He knew about it 6 months before he died. To this day, I'm still curious about the Ouija board, but I will never touch it again. That's crazy.
I don't like this.
And did you know that a man won the right to a retrial? A convicted murder. Well, a person who was convicted of murder won the right to a retrial because the members of the jury used a Ouija board to contact his victims.
What? I mean, okay. If there are things like that, then people who are on stand could like come up with on trial. I mean, so come up with so much.
Yeah, they had to redo his trial, but I'm curious whether our listeners use Ouija boards. Y'all should tell us your stories.
Yeah, and don't bring any bad mojo around here, please.
Right. But here are some rules I found. The most important rule is to never taunt or goad a spirit to communicate with you through the Ouija board. Never ask a Ouija board when you're going to die. Mm-hmm. Spirits who talk to you through the Ouija board can tell you anything they want. Just because a spirit says it doesn't mean it's true. I mean, that makes 100% sense. It might really not be your grandmother that you're talking to.
Yeah.
A spirit may try to win your trust by telling you that they are a long-lost relative or the spirit of a small child who needs your help. But in reality, they could be a malevolent spirit.
If it mimics a small child, it is pure evil.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it has black eyes. It's a whole different story. Never use a Ouija board alone. The more people you have with you using a Ouija board, the better. This means there is more energy present to connect with a spirit. If not everyone can comfortably sit and touch the planchette, it's fine to have some people just be viewers. I wonder why. I mean,
I was thinking maybe it's like one of those things where if there's more people, maybe it can't attach to all of you guys at once, and so it can't really do that. Like something like that. I know that's not exactly what I'm going for, but like there's safety in numbers type of vibe.
Yeah. Maybe the more live people that there are, the stronger they are able to keep the spirit within the board or something.
Like, okay, I'm a nerd, but World of Warcraft, when you're in like a group like dungeon or raid, then they have like specific spells where people have to soak so that it doesn't hurt. Like it like evens out the plane, like the damage done. So maybe something like that.
Yeah, that could be.
That's the only instance I could think about.
Life force, yeah.
Something.
Do not use a Ouija board in your home.
No.
If you do connect with a malevolent spirit, the energy will then be in your home and will be harder to break. One person in the group should be the leader. This is the person who will talk and ask questions while the group is using the board. If you are using the Ouija board and are not the leader, you should keep your fingers on the planchette and remain silent. No one should laugh or ask whether it is working. This is negative energy, which interferes with the process. Try not to decipher the words as the planchette moves. Your role is to close your eyes and focus your energy on the planchette.
But then how are you supposed to see what it says?
I guess the leader sees what it says.
Weird.
The leader should not ask joke questions. One person should be assigned the task of keeping track of the answers. They can write down the words on a notepad and translate to the group what they think the spirit is saying. Try not to guess what the answers are in the moment. Write down what is happening and do that after the planchette stops moving.
Weird.
Do not leave the planchette on the board. When you are done using your Ouija board, remove the planchette from the board, even if you are just leaving the room for a bit. It's considered bad luck to leave it on the board. If you want to take a break, have one person keep their hand on the planchette to stay connected to the energy you've built. Always end your session with the Ouija board by saying goodbye. The location you use this should ideally be dark and free of background noise, like a graveyard.
No, you're not supposed to. Another rule: do not do not use the Ouija board.
Which I think we told
in
you
the graveyard.
That's where she and Wren and her husband to be. They weren't on their first date. Did it in a graveyard?
Yeah, in a graveyard because we were dumb and we didn't look at the rules and we didn't know that there were rules.
It says you can use a candle to light the board enough to see what the planchette may be spelling. If a spirit starts communicating with you through the board by counting down or going through the alphabet, immediately end the session by saying goodbye. This is a common theme in Ouija users who have contacted a malevolent spirit that is trying to leave the board.
Oh, okay.
If a spirit starts communicating with you by making the planchette make the figure 8 or infinity symbol, immediately end the session by saying goodbye. This is another way malevolent spirits have revealed themselves. If you begin to suspect that you are in contact with a malevolent spirit, immediately end the session by placing the planchette on goodbye. It also helps to leave the physical space you are in to sever the energy between the group and the spirit. If you speak to a spirit who identifies themselves as Zozo, end the session and say goodbye immediately. Zozo has been identified as a malevolent spirit. Don't use the Ouija board in a cemetery, Wren.
Exclamation point, like 5 exclamation points, and it's all caps.
If you are experiencing depression, it's good to avoid using a Ouija board because that kind of energy draws in malevolent spirits. Never burn a Ouija board. This is what you were talking about.
Yes.
This can do more damage than simply leaving it untouched in a closet. If you are having problems with the Ouija board, store the planchette and the board separately.
Yeah, I knew that too.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So like with our Ouija board, I think I already said this on here. I'm just going to say it again since it's a Ouija episode. We gifted ours away.
Is that what you're supposed to do?
It didn't specifically say you're just not supposed to burn it. It said like the best thing is probably just leave it, but then I don't want to leave it in my space and home.
Mm-hmm.
So I gifted it away. We gifted it to my husband's poor friend that was much, much younger than us at the time, like maybe 4 years younger. And we were like, yeah, it's cool. Have it. We don't care. Have it. And he was like, okay.
You're evil.
well, he was talking about how he wanted one, so we were like, "Oh,
you can have ours.
Yeah, you can have ours. Go and use it." Oh gosh. We did tell him. We told him the rules. We said, "Look up the rules before you use it, and don't ever burn it."
Know anything more about him? Has he used it, or do you know?
He's never said. We haven't talked in a while. That but we've never said. What was your experiences with Ouija boards?
I just make them. I don't really use them.
You didn't use them at all when you were younger?
I feel like we might have, but I don't remember. I mean, I always thought that it was just my friends moving the planchette around.
Nothing bad ever came from your experience or anything?
No. Mm-mm.
I can't think of any other experience that I've had. I mean, we did do it twice.
I mean, I think we just did it as kids. You played with it, but nothing ever. It was like a game. It wasn't scary.
So would you say at that time there wasn't like scary ideas around it?
No, I think there were. I just didn't believe it.
You don't believe much. You're like, I'll do what I want.
Well, I wonder if that's true. Let's go see.
Yeah, let's try it. If I jump off a cliff, will I die?
Yeah, I'm one of those that probably would. I'm a Gryffindor. You gotta go boldly where no man has gone before.
Oh, okay.
No, River.
Okay.
Okay, that's all we have for Ouija boards for this week. You can find us on our website, which is www.c3witchypodcast.com. There you will find links to our episodes, links to our social media. We have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I know we're going to maybe try to get this put up on YouTube. I'm going very slowly with that. If you like the podcast, please consider supporting us. You can find our Patreon through our website. On that very first page, you can click the button and it takes you straight to our Patreon, or you can go to our Patreon directly at www.patreon.com/C3witchypodcast. Any amount that you give us would be fantastic. Thank you to our existing patrons. You guys rock. We try to do extra episodes, bonus episodes for our patrons, all kinds of things. There's a witchy to-do list on there, that kind of thing. So if you can come support us, we would really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Check out my Etsy store. I got lots of witchy things that I try to put up there, altar things, altar dishes, that kind of thing. It is www.batsandbaubles.etsy.com. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back.
We'll be back.
Stay witchy.